Hey guys, welcome back to the Otter Creek and Rio Grande and another operations video. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I've been making use of JMRI and the Operations Pro program, and I've really enjoyed it, but you know, there are a few things about it that I don't like, and I have always wondered whether or not car cards and waybills might be a better system for me. And, you know, one of the biggest reasons why I haven't jumped into it is just the sheer amount of work involved in creating the car cards, all of the waybills, the printer ink, all of the things for it, especially if I'm still developing how operations will work on the Otter Creek and Rio Grande. So when I saw this trainwaybills.com digital waybill system, I thought, you know, this would be something to check out just to see if I like it. And I will say so far, I have been very pleased with it. Now, just like Chevy versus Ford, NCE versus Digitrax, or whatever is out there for anybody to make use of in any kind of commodity or something that you make use of. Everyone's going to have an opinion about what's the best, what works good for them, what not. And so I will just say that I know that this will not be for everyone, and that's fine. Now, just, you know, 100% transparency here. I am not being sponsored by Steve, the owner and developer of trainwaybills.com. I just wanted to check it out because I wanted to do waybills. I'm no expert by any means in how this works. I have, I would call, a very rudimentary understanding of it so far. And so this is not a how-to video. This is really just kind of, I want to give an overview of kind of what it looks like and the general concept of how it works for anyone else who might be thinking about car cards and waybills, and also don't like the idea of all of the effort it takes to create them. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of give an overall view of everything. This up here is, I guess, the menu. This first tab is the account tab, and it's got several other tabs within it. This first one, display, is literally pretty much just your display name. The next one is the arrow with the upgrade, and this has to do with which version of the software, or not the software, but what's the best way to put it? You're purchasing a plan to make use of the website, so to speak, per month. It's an app is the best way to explain it. Is you're making use of the program, so therefore there is a monthly subscription, and there's more than one kind of subscription that you can get, and I'll probably discuss that maybe at the very end or later. Then you've got settings, and this is just general, really general, like the sounds, and I think whether or not you get emails sent to you or not as a monthly subscription or an update or whatever. Email address, password, and then this is also where you log out at. The next tab is the Sessions tab, and this is one of those that I'm still not just 100% sure how exactly it works or what the purposes are, because I'm not hosting operating sessions. I would probably have a different understanding of it if I were, but like right now you can see I have one operating session. I named it the Eternal Op session because it's been going on since March 1st and I have no plans to stop it. And you know, the way I think this works is If other people want to come and operate your layout, of course, they also have to have an account with trainwaybills.com. Now, you can have an account and pay no money at all. You don't have to pay and make use of the application for yourself, but you do have to have an account to make use of someone else's layout. So you can see here where it says dcarroll, username dcarroll8. That is another email address that I've created, another account that I'm not paying for. So, you know, if I have one other operator, I can give them the login credentials for this, and then I can add them to this session in which they are right now, or I could remove them. So that way you can have more than one operator in your session at a time. I haven't experienced that yet to know how exactly that works in the real world, because I've just been operating by myself. The next tab is the layout settings tab, and you can see you get to name your layout, and then there's 3 different versions of how the waybills will be processed: smart, active, and visit. And there's no way I can talk off the top of my head about what the differences of those are. I'll probably come back and explain that a little bit better when I get towards the end of this particular segment. And then you've got this processing timeout. That's if I understand right, it's the amount of time you want to elapse after one train or one operator visits a location. When the next operator comes in, if you haven't met this timeline yet, the cars won't process. And if I understand right, this is to help prevent double processing. And I may not have that exactly right, but what you're supposed to do with this is that this number should be the average amount of time it takes for you to work your railroad from one end to the other, including the switching times. Now, mine's 5 minutes. I'm the only operator. I want things to happen quicker on my railroad than probably I would if I had 4 people here. So that's kind of why I've got this set to 5 minutes instead of maybe the 45 minutes it should be. Again, haven't done any of that. Don't know exactly how it works with multiple operators in a larger operating session. Now this is the layout map, and when you first start this, you know, there's not going to be anything in here, and you have to build your layout, so to speak. And I would strongly suggest making sure you have a rudimentary understanding of how the waybills will be issued to cars, where they will process, and that kind of thing before you build any of this, because that was kind of one of the first mistakes I made when I created this the first time. I've done it twice now. Is understanding that, for one, what is the difference between a staging yard and a main node where you don't have yard tracks. So looking here, you've got a staging yard, and then here you've got this frying pan. Any place where you've got this underscore or line underneath the lettering, that's an indication of staging tracks and or classification tracks. So over here in Cloud City, you can see that there's only, I guess, what you'd call spurs or industry tracks. So you can't park an entire train as a consist anywhere in Cloud City at the moment because there are no yard tracks. So if I go in to Cloud City, choose the location, and now it's asking me to edit it. So I guess I will go ahead and do that, cloud. And right now you can see it's only a switching node. I'm going to turn that off and turn on the classification yard. So now, and I know that in the future, there's no tracks at cloud right now. I know in the future that I will absolutely have classification tracks here. So I'm just going to go ahead and change it. And now you can see that cloud has got this underscore here. So again, hope that didn't confuse too many people. Read the how-to instructions real good before you begin this would be my best advice to you. Now the tracks tab is where you add the specific tracks into the locations that you created on the map. So you can see, where's a good one? Well, Frying Pan Industries. I've got my ash pit, my coal track. I've got 2 mine tracks for the RG mine. I've got a repair and place track, so on and so forth. Now, if we find a place that has classification tracks, where's Frying Pan? There we go. So you can see Frying Pan is a yard and has classification tracks. So I've got arrival departure track 1, AD2, I've got an icing track, and then all of these are also yard tracks. All of this is pretty self-explanatory. So if we go into cloud here, I can create, we'll just do AD1, even though it doesn't exist yet. And you can also put in track length. We'll just say that it's 360 feet, which I think is pretty close to a 10-foot train on my layout. And then it also asks, do you want off spots available? For the most part, I always leave this checked because having a place to put a car that's not a specific track is always handy. And then so now you can see AD1 is here at cloud. Pretty simple to do. And then commodities. So this is the stuff that you're gonna add to your Waybills, and it comes with a bunch of commodities already in the program. Everything that's in gray, the program provided, and then everything that's in this kind of orange color, I've added to it. So, you know, I've got cold produce, rail car parts, raw ore, refined gold ore, salt, sand, so on and so forth. Real simple, you just type in there and hit save, and it will add it to your list of commodities. The next tab is the cars tab, and this is also extremely simple, where you just add the car type, then you've got a number of images, which I don't particularly find very helpful because they all kind of have the same block look to them. They don't, in my opinion, they don't catch my eye. Now the colors kind of do. Like all of my reefers happen to be yellow. I can very easily pick out a yellow car up here because this will turn yellow when you save it. And car number, car size, all of this is really self-explanatory type stuff. Now, the Waybills tab is similar to the car tab where you're going to create your Waybill. And this is one of those things where if you've never done car cards and Waybills, maybe this is confusing. I still get a little confused about how this works because I don't think it works exactly the same way that a real physical car card and Waybill works because, of course, it's a program. So the program has limitations in how it works, you know, the AI or the algorithms or whatever. It has to do things a certain way in order for it to work. I'll go ahead and take a look at one of my Waybills. So we're going to pick a boxcar waybill, and we're going to specifically pick one of my grain waybills. So this is a waybill that's specifically for grain. And we'll go ahead and go into edit. You can see that it's specifically this waybill specifically for a boxcar. I've got 6 of them in total. They're all exactly the same. So I've got a total of 6, and with the number of cars I've got on the layout right now, you can see that every time a boxcar gets a new waybill, if I understand right, there's a 25% chance that this will be the waybill that it gets. So the first instructions is going to be to go to Maroon Creek, and it's going empty, and it's going to pick up some grain here at Katy Grain. And I've got it at express turnaround. You can do this very long all the way down to express. Again, I'm operating by myself, so I'm trying to turn things over as quickly as possible, so I'm not waiting, longer than need to be able to pick up a car in the future. So it's going to go to the east staging yard with the grain, and it's just a simple 2-cycle bill. The waybill gets pulled when it gets to east staging, and then this car will get returned to wherever it gets returned to when it's empty. All right, this is the instructions tab, the how-to tab. I really think this is good. Unlike a lot of programs where there's so much information in the program that you just your eyes gloss over and roll up in the back of your head. Everything in here is just pretty straightforward. You can see this keywords pickup. Used when operating in a switching location, this is where a car has completed its last instruction and requires picking up to go elsewhere. Pretty simple. Now, if I remember right, we were talking about layout settings and the waybill processing mode. You got smart. So the smart processing mode is an algorithm-based processing of waybills, a perfect balance of prototypical operation and operator interest, and relies on processing timeout before processing local waybills. So, you should be able to read all of this stuff and get a pretty good idea of how things work. Now, if you're kind of thick in the head like I am sometimes, you have to experience something as you're operating and go, well, why did this happen or why did that not happen? Then go back and reread, and then do more, and then reread, and then it all begins to kind of make sense to you eventually. Now, what I really like about this, if I can kind of try and explain it without confusing myself, with JMRI, I always felt like I had to kind of do battle with the program. You go in, you change some settings, you hit build, and then the program builds your train for you, and you look at the train and you go, oh yeah, that looks like that'll be a fun one to run or whatever. It seems like a lot of times you might hit the build button and you get a train of 2 cars. You're like, well, I'm not going to bother to run a train of 2 cars from point A to point B. So you go back in and kind of manipulate things a little bit and just try and figure out. And I always felt like there was a lot of ass time, if you will, behind the computer with JMRI. One of the first things that I will kind of give kudos to on this particular thing, I was able to put my entire layout into this program, I think in less than 3 hours the first time. Now, admittedly, I probably should have slowed down and read the how-tos a little bit more and maybe understood it a little bit more, but I just dove in, and it's very intuitive, very easy to figure out. You might make some mistakes, but overall, I mean, it's model railroading. Nobody's going to get hurt. If you goof something up, you just delete and start over or whatever you need to do, which I did. I ended up deleting the entire railroad, including all of my cars, and reloading them again after, I don't know, probably a week, 2 weeks of operating the first time I built it. And I kind of got a better understanding of how things worked and then redid it again. I still made some mistakes the second time, and I'm still kind of learning and trying to figure out how the Waybills themselves work. But right now, everything's jiving pretty good. Now, the thing that I like about this the most, as opposed to switchless, I have the freedom to kind of do what I want to do, and then, you tell the program what you just did. Where in JMRI, the JMRI gives you a switch list and expects you to do what the computer told you to do, and then afterwards you hit complete or terminate train or whatever. And here it's just, I can go through all of my car cards in whatever location I want to start at, and I can look and see, well, what do I want to do? Of course, in a real operating session, I'm sure you need some kind of plan for how the railroad works, which I don't have to worry about that at this point, even though I kind of do have a plan. But I love the freedom of being able to operate any way I want. As long as I've got a Wi-Fi connection, I can come in here and not have to build a train, so to speak, and then print and, then go to the printer and bring the switch list out here. I can just open up my iPad and begin. So I think the next thing I want to do is just go ahead and run a train. Not sure what I'm going to do yet. I haven't looked into what's available. I know we're going to start in Frying Pan, and I think I've got 4 or 5 cars that could go to Maroon Creek. I think that would probably be the best thing to do. So we'll probably go to Maroon Creek and then, I don't know, maybe terminate in the East Staging Yard. I found it a little difficult to run the camera, looking at the iPad and kind of panning back and forth. So I decided the easiest way to do this was just kind of operate and then do a voiceover of what I've done after the fact, rather than try and comment as I go. I figured out that there was a total of 4 cars that needed to go to Maroon Creek, so that's what I'm going to do starting here, is gather up and build my train. Now, when I first started, I was thinking that I was going to go ahead and continue on east past Maroon Creek, and so therefore I wanted this car here, this oil tanker, to be at the end of the train, and it really should have been at the front. So here I'm looking at the operations tab, and I'm just looking at everything that could be going to Maroon Creek. And I know that on my classification tracks, for sure, track 5 is where anything going to Maroon Creek should be parked. So, and then this car here, that tanker, was actually on track 4, but it showed up in green, so I knew that it was going as well. So what I'm doing now is just looking at everything that's going to Maroon Creek on the Waybills, and pulling them. Now it's just a matter of putting them in order of the way that I want to handle them when I get to Maroon Creek. I'm actually building the train backwards, so to speak. The tanker there is the last car of the train. but I'm handling it first. The two box cars are going to the same place, the interchange track, so I want them together. The stock car will be at the front of the train, which just makes everything easier when you actually get there. And now I'm just spotting the train there on the departure track, and we'll have to run around and go get the caboose. There's a strict 10-mile-per-hour speed limit inside the engine yard. Yardmaster has a shotgun with rock salt in it. He will make a believer of you if you go over 10 miles an hour. The 453 is what we'll use to take the train up to Maroon Creek, and again, strict adherence to the 10-mile-per-hour speed limit. And we need a little coal, so part of operations in the engine yard is to go ahead and pause here at the coal chute, get some coal. And we'll also need to pick up some water. Eventually, I will probably put a water column somewhere in the engine yard. It probably doesn't make sense to spend so much time going all the way down here to the water tower, but it's fun when I'm just doing it by myself. Adds a little interest. And now we head out to Maroon Creek. looking left to right, we've got Sperry cattle. The next track is the interchange track, and then there where the flat car is with all the crates on it, that's the less than carload track. And then McCarville Oil is there in kind of the top right. At the far east end of Maroon Creek, we've got Katy Grain with the 3 box cars, and then the mill that I just built. I had to put that someplace where it could be appreciated. I just scooted the Muckawonga mine and mill down a little bit to the left to make room for the grain mill. Taking a look at the train, you know, I've got one car, the stock car, it's going to the stock pins. Then the 2 box cars are going to the interchange track, and then the tanker is going to McCarville Oil. So we left Frying Pan, so the program knows where you're at the second you select the town that you're currently in. So you can see here, we've got the cars in the train that are ready to be set out because the program knows that's where the Waybill wants to put them. So you can see where it says set out. You can also see the red border that indicates that they're ready to set out. And then the 751 is currently at the interchange track and will need to be picked up. You can also go in and look at every car there, and that's what I'm doing now. You can see these other cars are there, but you can see where it says available in 0. That means that they're not finished processing. I presume that in a standard physical car card and Waybill program, these would be held maybe until the next session or whatever. They're just not through processing yet. They're still being loaded. I thought that I would have more than one car here that I would be picking up when I first started this. I didn't go and look ahead of time, so I was kind of surprised I only had one car to pick up, to be honest. Now, if I'd have been smart and looked ahead, I would have put this oil tanker at the front of the train, and then after I was finished with all my work and heading back to Maroon Creek and turned around, this would have been a trailing point instead of a facing point, and I'd have saved myself a move. But, you know, sometimes you can't get everything right. Since I'm only picking up the one car, I'm just gonna spot it here for now on the less than a carload track, and then drop off the 2 box cars that I brought with me. And we will leave the 751 there on the siding and take care of the other stock car where it's going to get dropped off, and then turn around and come back and pick it up later. And just like that, all our work is finished. I just want to make sure that we've done everything we said we were going to do in the program itself. So we've picked up the 751 and we've set out the other 4 cars. I'm just looking at the consist here, making sure that it matches, the physical train matches what the program says I have. Always a good idea. And we're on our way back to frying pan. Now, it will happen that your device will likely time out and go to sleep. So far, it has not been an issue whatsoever. You can see here the red flashy light in the top right lets you know you're not currently online. Usually it flashes 3 times and you're back on. So now I'm looking at my consist, which is the 1 car. So I'm going to park it. And since I'm westbound, I'm picking arrival departure track 2 there. And now that car, since I've parked it, will become immediately available for somebody else to pick up. Now, if you set it out, it's different. And when you set a car out, it's all about how you process, and the time limits between operators will have to be satisfied before somebody else can pick it up. But when you park something, it becomes available immediately, if I understand right. Now the 41 is going to go ahead and pull the 751 from the arrival departure track. And you can see on the Waybill that that car is supposed to be going to Grand Junction. So I'm going to go ahead and park it again on track 3, which all cars going to Silver Gulch and Grand Junction will go on to track 3. So that's the last little thing I need to do here, is just put this on track 3 and call it quits. You know, just an overview of what this kind of looks like. I'm very pleased with it. I'm enjoying it. I found it to be a lot more simple than JMRI, in my opinion. You know, once JMRI is up and running, it's fine, but I felt like the learning curve between the two is significantly different. If you don't already have any kind of operating system, if you're not, you know, doing any operations on your layout, and you've got 2 or 3 different quote-unquote locations, even if you're just on like a 4x8 sheet of plywood, you might be surprised at how much fun doing things with purpose is, instead of just, you know, deciding on your own. Very, very nice. I really like this. I can't say enough good things about it. You know, there are a few little frustrations. I would call them petty annoyances, but to be honest, those kind of popped up and disappeared, I would say, pretty quickly, because they were so petty. I can't really even think anything off the top of my head right now that I don't like. I could think of a few things that I would like to improve on, but probably not in this video would I comment on any of that. So thanks for watching Otter Creek and Rio Grande. I hope this was enjoyable, and if you're thinking about car cards and Waybills, I strongly suggest looking into this. It's pretty cool.